what we are learning is that the intel sources have told CNN News 18 that there's a possibility that Hardeep Singh Nijjar could have been killed by Pakistan's ISI. Now, what intel sources have told CNN News 18 is that Rahat Rao and Tariq Kiani were the two men from the ISI who were planted in Canada, and they were handling terrorists who were coming from India. So these two men from the ISI were handling the terrorists who were coming from India, and because proximity to Nijjar was impossible, as Nijjar was very cautious, and another reason that is coming to the fore, according to the intel sources, is that Nijjar was killed by ISI to control the drugs business. So this is also one possibility, the one reason that could be behind Nijjar's killing. And Nijjar was gaining popularity in the Canadian community, and this is also one of the reasons that is being cited by the intel sources to CNN News 18. Nijjar's proximity to Pak-based group a problem for ISI. So Nijjar's close proximity to the Pak-based group was being seen as a problem for the ISI, and it could be the reason for ISI being behind the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Remember, there has been a standoff between India and Canada over the killing of separatist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau had claimed that there could be India's hand behind the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. But now what we are learning, according to the intel sources, is that there could be Pakistan's ISI's hand behind Nijjar's killing, as Nijjar was gaining popularity among the Canadian community, and also he had proximity to Pak-based group, which was a problem for the ISI. What we are also learning is that Rahat Rao and Tariq Kiani were the two men from the ISI who were planted in Canada, and they were handling the terrorists coming from India. So these are the inputs that we are getting from the top intel sources on the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Now there is a possibility that is arising that ISI could be behind the killing of separatist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. And what we're also learning is that two men named Rahat Rao and Tariq Kiani were planted in Canada, and they were handling terrorists who were coming from India. CNN News 18's Anand Narsimhan is joining us on the broadcast. Anand, a very good morning to you. Anand, so top intel sources are now suggesting that there could be a possibility that Pakistan's ISI could be behind the killing of Nijjar. Tell us more about it.
Good morning to our viewers. Fact of the matter is that Nijjar was becoming a problem. There are internecine issues between these gangsters which have been operated. It was in CNN News 18 that we reported back in 2017 that the ISI was trying to co-opt Nijjar to become part of their operations, and especially to push this entire Khalistani agenda. But now we are given to understand that the ISI itself had enough of Nijjar because he was getting too hot and too hard to handle. Now the needle of suspicion points to the likes of Rahat Rao and Tariq Kiani, two plants of the ISI, and who also allegedly run a network there, and they could be perhaps responsible, and they have used this entire internecine gang war, especially after Nijjar threatened Ripudaman Malik and the presence of some other entities there. They would have used this as an opportunity, and this is usually the way intelligence networks work, where they do something and then they blame it on the other. So they try and kill two birds with one stone. So on the one hand, they have had Nijjar out of the way. On the other hand, they'll plant it on India and try and send across intelligence which says that there is an Indian hand to Nijjar's murder. So what intel sources are telling us via Group Editor Security Manoj Kumar Gupta is that this could be the most likely aspect, because it is a local hit which has happened. How is it that on Canadian soil somebody comes, kills someone who's under perhaps somewhere very close in proximity to elements within the Canadian state, and gets away with it unless there is an internal hand? The other aspect is that the ISI's activities have been under the radar on Canadian soil with the killing of Karima Baloch, which happened in 2020, and it was passed off as a non-criminal death. This now with Nijjar, because Ripudaman Singh Malik was killed in recently last year, and there has been no further evidence on who killed him. Now we have Hardeep Nijjar, who's been killed, and soon after that there is Sugdul Duneke, who's also been killed. So Could be that because there is a gang rivalry, because there is a war or a tussle for turf, and who controls the drug mafia, who controls the narrative and the business, and that's where perhaps Nijjar had become too much to handle for the ISI, and they wanted to perhaps even get rid of him. But the question is that this is what intel sources are telling CNN News 18. What is the Canadian intelligence sitting and doing? Where is the hard evidence and what is the proof? They have failed to arrest someone who's on camera using an AK-47 which is banned on Canadian soil, and these are visuals from 2016, 2017. So since then, he has never, the Canadian authorities have never acted against someone like Nijjar. Nijjar was proscribed a terrorist by the Indian government in 2020. Multiple extradition requests and letter rogations have been sent. And if there is indeed the aspect of or involvement of the ISI and also the Chinese intelligence under Operation Fox Hunt, where Wei Hu was killed, what is Canada doing about these entities? And we had Sri Lankans coming out and saying that they harbored Canada for long, was an operational hub for many entities who were inimical to Sri Lanka. Similar allegations have been leveled by Israel. So the Canadian administration under Justin Trudeau have to see he's actually going to vie for a third term. This is his second term. So the last decade under his rule, about 8 years, has Canada now become a hotbed for all kinds of elements who are using Canadian soil to perpetrate activities? And has Canadian soil become like an open turf area where anybody and everybody can get in and execute somebody or do their own work? This is a big story. ISI's involvement is very clear, because can Canada come out and say that Rahmat Rao and Tariq Kiani don't exist? There are pictures of the proximity of certain members, political parties and political members in the Canadian establishment, and the proximity they have with Canadian Pakistanis. And some of these Pakistanis have got very dubious antecedents and also source of funds. They are allegedly using fraudulent means and perhaps even on the Hawala network to try and beget illegal sources of funds or money via illegal means, which is then being pumped into the political system. Now, is this all being allowed? Is it a free-for-all in Canada is the big question. Because Mr. Trudeau has pointed a finger at Bharat without even any form or a semblance of credible evidence. Now there are sources saying that if these are the people, have you looked at all angles? Have you looked at all possibilities? Have you considered all angles to this entire investigation before leveling charge or driving a wedge between in the friendly equations between two strong democracies? That's the question that the Trudeau administration now needs to answer. Somewhere there is huge amount of leaning towards this possibility that Nijjar's proximity to Pak-based group was a problem for the ISI. And again, there is an internecine fight. That's why we had Amritpal Brar, the radio host and activist, come out and say this entire call for what was planned for on September 25 turned out to be a damn squib, because they are fighting amongst themselves, and there are multiple gangs, right, each one trying to fight for control of the turf and for proximity with the ISI, and one is trying to supersede the other. Were some people, some elements, did they become disposable, including Hardeep Nijjar, who has been rejected by Canada, who has rejected Canadian citizenship twice, but suddenly he became someone who would be coveted, for whom a nation's prime minister will stand up for. So these are all questions the Canadians have to now answer.